Welcome back to the VidMark podcast. I am joined by Charles Shambry, Charles is a professional speaker, trainer, traveling around the world, speaking on various subjects such as diversity, civil rights, communications, psychology, leadership, conflict management, finance, and insurance. He still maintains a license as an insurance broker. Mr. Shambry is a second-generation entrepreneur, a U.S. veteran with an honorable discharge. He currently holds an office as superintendent over a nonprofit that maintains over 400 members. Charles is a host and a contributor on KBOO Radio 90.7 FM for the evening news. He is heavily involved as a member in Toastmasters International, which is a leadership and public speaking club that conducts meetings globally. Former hosts and presidents over TV Toastmasters, presiding over 4 locations in Beaverton, Gresham, Oregon City, and Portland. The cable TV telecast is broadcast to 500 plus listeners. With Toastmasters, he is appointed as a competent communicator and has acquired the milestones for the competent leader. He holds an applied ministries certification, which involves marketing and public speaking from Griggs University, and studied 4 years in theology. He graduated with another 4 years with a degree in business administration, majoring in entrepreneurship. Charles' main goal is to provide value to content and relationships.
Welcome to VidMark, a podcast to give you the video marketing knowledge to always hit the mark. Let us help build your confidence with video strategy and content creation best practices. Join us weekly for pro tips and guest interviews as we explore the powerful communication tool of video. It's time to boost your business. Let's talk video.
All right. Welcome back to the VidMark podcast. Thank you for joining me. I am so excited to have a very special guest, Charles Shambry. Charles, we've known each other for a couple of years now. How are things going? How's life?
Things are awesome. You forgot to say Prince Charles, international speaker Charles. That's what you left out.
That's right, Prince Charles. That's awesome. Yeah, you have done some international speaking, which is absolutely incredible. What's that been like? What's it like talking to, crowds of all different kinds?
I enjoy it. It's the best thing. I highly recommend it. You're a speaker too, so you know the highs that you get from speaking, and so I'm just addicted to that high when it comes to being in front of a big crowd, a big group. So yeah.
I always have to ask people, do you still get nervous when you go up and speak in front of a crowd, or do the butterflies go away? Do they ever go away?
Yeah. So I would say, and I want to talk about this later, but I think that's kind of a part of my story. But I read this book from Toastmasters that said that anytime you speak, you're always going to have those butterflies. The idea is that you have to make those butterflies fly in formation. And so, yeah, I still get a little bit of butterflies, but I make them fly in a proper manner, or in other words, I control my, let's say, excitement, and I make it work for me. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I think of like a professional athlete channeling all of that energy and excitement and putting it into the big game and like using it to fuel you to make a big play or be able, having more enthusiasm or excitement when it comes to speaking.
Right, and that's what I'm addicted to. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
The rush of it, I don't know how I would pinpoint it when I'm up in front of a crowd. Yeah, I guess there's the rush and, wanting to say the right things and say it in the right way and be compelling, be exciting for people. Yeah, it's all of it. Yeah, there's something that keeps bringing me back to the stage. That's for sure when it comes to Toastmasters.
For sure.
But I haven't done any professional speaking, that's maybe a dream or a goal of mine. So I'm very excited to have someone of your caliber on the show. Do you want to, we've kind of jumped off of the outline a little bit, but do you want to talk about your background, Charles?
Yeah. Let's talk about my background. Yeah. So I first started off speaking, at least had the calling for speaking when I was in high school. I had been hanging out with the wrong crowd. I think you heard this story before, right? From that radio interview. Mm-hmm. And so I was in one foot in the church and one foot out of the church. Not to get religious on your show, but this is my background. And what happened is that I was supposed to go hang out with my friends. I had one friend, his name was Andrew, one friend named Johnny. And Johnny was the first person that got shot and died on the TriMet bus. And if you know, if you've been around here for a long time, in the 90s, it was very crazy to be in the streets. And so you would hear on the news someone dying, someone getting hurt, or someone going to prison. And many of those people that you hear on the radio and TV, they were my friends. And so this one particular night, I was supposed to hang out with Johnny and Andrew, and my mother was really persistent on me going to this evangelistic meeting, and I had the ability not to go. If I didn't want to go, I could tell her, hey, I don't want to go. But she was really persistent on having me go. So I went, and she said the speaker had a similar background that I had. He was from Compton, California, and he was into gangs and into selling drugs. And so I went to this evangelistic meeting, and this guy was awesome. I mean, if you like Toastmasters and you like public speaking, you would have to hear this guy. He was very compelling, very strong in his delivery, and he convicted me to really change. That night, though, my friend Andrew got shot. There was a drive-by, and he got shot. And he wanted to change his life, and I did too. And so we went to this homework club, and there I met this very special lady. Her name is Kelly Harthorn. Her name is Kelly Edmondson now, last name Edmondson. And she really inspired me. She helped me get from a 1 point to 2 point to 3 point, a 4 point grade point average. And I was about to drop out of high school, but she really inspired me to do well in school. And that's kind of how it started, because I had a good story, I thought. And as I went through school, I was in the paper for that, and was put in front of the church, put in other positions where I was able to speak and tell my story of success, how I came out of gang activities and then did better in school. And actually, I met Ben Carson too. Not to get political either on here. I met Ben Carson. He was really encouraging. And I read his book too. It was called Think Big. And he had a similar background where we went to 1 point to 2 point and to 4 point grade point average and became a doctor. So I was really inspired by his story. But as I was going through my course of speaking a little bit and in front of various different audiences about my story in life, I went to the small Bible college to become maybe a minister and a speaker. And let me kind of go back a little bit. Before that time, though, I remember I was in the hallway of my house, and I was thinking about my life. I don't know if I dozed off in sleep or slumber, but I had this vision of traveling, moving here and speaking and presenting. And then I woke up. I thought it was really strange. and then I started telling people about this dream I had. I had this mentor who I really had looked up to, and I told him, hey, I want to be a speaker. And he's like, no, I don't think you can be a speaker. Because around this time, because I became very studious, I became an introvert. I became very shy and scared and sheltered. And to have me speak was the most terrifying thing. At that point, I had not allowed my butterflies to fly in formation. And I told him I wanted to be a speaker. He was like, no, I don't think you can become a speaker. But I knew I had this calling to speak. I knew that this is what I was supposed to do. And then I went to college. I went to this Bible college, and we spoke a lot, right? It's an evangelistic college. It's a Bible college. And there I was always messing up. I was always bombing it. I was out of all my fellow peers, I kept messing up. And that's actually where I found that book from Toastmasters about making your butterflies fly in formation. Because I said, hey, I need to change. I knew I had the talent, but I knew every time I got up there in front of the crowd, my fear just took over. And it kept me from presenting the way that I wanted to. And again, I read that book, that helped. And then I was so bad, Brian, I was so bad to where even my professors told me, hey, you should do something else. They were telling me, you don't have what it takes to be a speaker. You should be a door-to-door salesman. That's kind of what they were telling me. They were telling me that directly and indirectly. I had like 2 professors telling me that.
Oh my gosh.
I hear from people that you look up to telling you that you don't have what it takes.
A big thank you to our sponsors over at songtub.com. That's right, song or music and a tub, like a bath, but more fun to say. Tub. Anyway, you can check out Songtub's website for any of your music needs. In fact, the song playing in the background right now is from Songtub. So why pick them over anyone else? Well, they curate the music. And I know the guys, so that means I know that they're selecting great music for your project. A lot of other companies will brag about how many songs they have, maybe 100,000, 200,000, maybe even 1 million. But honestly, I don't have time for that. I don't have the time to just sit down and go next, a song not so great, trying to figure out where the best music is. Songtub.com, great place to get your music, and now I'm excited to offer you the first month for free if you go to songtub.com/pro, P-R-O, and we have a promo code for you. Yes, that's right, my name, your host, Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, and that will give you your first month free to have access to a huge music library that you can use towards your next video project, podcast, or any of your general audio needs. Anyway, back to the show.
Actually, let me go back. Can I go back one more time?
Definitely, yeah. Please. I'm just thinking back in my mind. You have me fooled because you're such a great speaker now. So that's always tough to see what someone was like when they were in those early stages. But keep going. I have plenty of things I want to ask you. But yeah.
Okay, great. And you're a great speaker too, man. I appreciate that. So yeah, when I was in high school, I remember one time I was walking from school. I was going to home, and my uncle had saw me. I don't see this uncle all the time. It's the uncle on my dad's side. He saw me traveling, so he picked me up and took me home. And he asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "Hey, I want to be a speaker. I think that's my calling." And remember, I told you I was very quiet during that time. And he looked at me and he stared at me like I was crazy. He says, "No, you don't have what it takes."
Wow.
So all these people, like 4 or 5 more, maybe 5 or 6 different people that I look up to, told me, "Hey, no, this is not the best field for you," and so it really had an effect upon my self-worth and my self-concept to where it was discouraging. But anyway, moving forward here, I went to school. I didn't have enough money to finish. There were some other reasons. So then I went there for 3 years, this Bible college, and I joined the military. And then when I joined the military, I was stationed in Europe, went all around, and there I was speaking. I was speaking in Europe and also in the Middle East. I was speaking on part-time on the weekends. I would speak. So that's kind of how I got started. And then afterwards, I finished the military. Then I went back to school, got my 4-year degree, and so I went to school for 4 years in theology, another 4 years for business administration and management. And the first industry that I did was insurance. And insurance, I worked for this company where I did a lot of speaking and presenting to teachers with retirement and also the insurance products necessary for helping teachers in their financial portfolio. So that's what I used to do. And I was in Toastmasters too. And this is weird too. I'm going to go back one more time. Can I go back one more time?
Keep it rolling. Take us back. I like it.
When I was doing my 4-year degree, I saw this little clipping about Toastmasters. And I was like, I remember Toastmasters because I was reading that book a while back about letting your butterflies fly in formation. And it's so weird because when I was reading the book, it kept talking about Toastmasters. I thought they were talking about toasters. And I was trying to figure out, what does toasters have to do with public speaking? That part was confusing for me. But I saw this little clipping about Toastmasters. I looked it up on YouTube, and then I saw there Ryan Avery was a champion. And I noticed his style, and I thought he was so cool. He had won the championship that year.
From Portland or from Oregon, yeah.
And that was the thing. And I see he's from Oregon. And what was interesting about, there's 2 points that were interesting about the fact that he was walking around. My style is much like that from what you recall. I walk around a lot, right?
Yeah.
And what my teachers were telling me, the professors were telling me is that that's not the right discipline. That's not the right way to speak. You have to sit in one place at the lectern, and that's the proper way to speak. And I saw this guy walk around, and then he was from Oregon too. I was like, there's no reason why I can't be a speaker. And I eventually had a chance to meet him, and I became a Toastmaster, and that really changed my life, becoming Toastmaster. And like you said, you didn't imagine me not having the ability to speak. Once I got to Toastmasters, so weird because all up until that time, people were telling me you can't speak. As soon as I got a Toastmaster, they thought I had this natural talent.
Yeah.
And they were not aware that I had gone through all this hardship of speaking that it was so bad to where like I was like depressed from the comments I got from my uncle and also professors who I really looked up to. And so I did the Toastmaster thing, and then kind of moving forward here is that when I was doing the insurance thing and I was in Toastmasters, I was like, hey, I want to do this for a career. I want to stop doing it on the side. I want to do it full time. And then I was able to get a couple of contracts, and the rest is history. So I for the most part, speak around the country, going from state to state. And like I said, I was speaking in Europe before this, and also in the Middle East. So that would be the international part. And every once in a while, I have like a gig set for something out of the country, but for the most part, I speak usually in the States and usually on the West Coast. So, but yeah, that's my story. That's my background in public speaking. Really, really rough. And what I would say is that even if I didn't have the talent, I acquired it. I don't know. Are you familiar with the book Outliers?
Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
well, I want to, I guess circling it back a little bit, I want to say thank you for your service, kind of bringing it back to what you were saying earlier. Thank you for your service in the military. And I want to maybe talk about how you were doing some speaking in the service and then you found Toastmasters after you got out. But yeah, man, we're all over the place. But yeah, talk about Malcolm Gladwell too. The Outliers book, I am familiar with it, like 10,000 hours and some of those ideas. Is that where were
well,
you going with that?
when some of the courses that I teach, I just refer to that book. And even like I said, I have a religious background, and so not to get too religious, but I mean, there's a story and there's a parable that talks about the talent, and if the person uses the talent, he gains more talent. And so I think it's related to that in the sense that as you use talent, or if you work on a particular task for 10,000 hours, you become an expert at it. And one compliment I get a lot is that I'm very talented, not just in public speaking, but just in other things. And I'm very talented. But it's because I'm just using one talent and I'm just adding and working and putting those hours, and then you gain more skills and abilities.
Yeah. I definitely want to kind of come back to that and like putting in the hours and putting in the work and maybe breaking down what were some of the things that you did that other people could do. But from what I've heard from like listening to your story is like one, you had a vision for where you were going to be, being a speaker, dazing up in class. Like that's an awesome story of how that happened. And then having a mentor through, I think the woman's name was Kelly. And then also like being persistent and like seeing through other people denying that you could do it. So were those kind of some of the three things that were really kind of helpful for your journey?
You said what are the 3 things that were helpful to me to get to that goal in my journey?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think practice is a big part of that. Practice makes for perfection, and so we just related that to Malcolm Gladwell's book. And so I practice every morning. So I have a morning ritual where I study about 2 or 3 hours every day. When I'm on the road, it's about an hour and a half or 2 hours. It just really depends on how early I can go to bed and get up. But I make sure I have a morning routine every single morning. But even when I'm have that morning ritual or that routine, I'm always practicing my speaking abilities. So I'm usually studying and then I'm doing it in front of the mirror. And I'm practicing my arms, how I use my gestures, and I'm practicing my smile. See the smile?
That's a good looking smile.
And I'm constantly practicing in front of a mirror. And then we have our world changed now because we have the COVID and the pandemic. And so now I practice in front of the video. I will put on Zoom and I will practice my presentations there too, just to make sure that I am ready, given the time and the request to speak. So to answer your question, I think practice and then having a morning ritual would be helpful towards my success. You said 3 things. So
Sure, yeah.
for now to think about. But yeah,
Well, even that last one that you mentioned was like recording yourself and like, listening to the video or being able to just see yourself. And I think that's genius actually to pull up Zoom and do it that way. Then you get a feel for how people are going to be receiving it on the other end of the screen. Whereas a mirror, you kind of have one way of seeing it, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, just to give you a good idea, like this is my side. The reason why I'm leaning this side is because this is my side.
I like, yeah. I
This
need to figure out which one. Yeah.
on TV, you need to know what your side is, right? Because I'm on like the different part, it doesn't look right. But this is my side, right? So I perfected that. But yeah, so those would be the 3 things. So morning ritual, practicing in front of a mirror, and then if you can record yourself. Those would be some good tips right there.
Yeah. Man. So I want to hear a little bit of the journey. Like, so you said as a kid you were more shy, and then to be like a speaker and wanting to push yourself outside of that. Do you know what were some of those first things that helped you kind of push outside of that comfort zone? Did you get to speak in front of, a group of students, or was it really that military experience where you spoke in front of, you were doing presentations and then you did Toastmasters and did more speaking there? What were some of the like little progressions of, reps, if you will, of things that you did to help build up your speaking ability?
Yeah, good question. I think it is, like you said, the practice makes perfect. I think Toastmasters is the thing that helped because as you know, I'm the superintendent. You've come and seen me present there. And even before I became the superintendent, I had to speak on the weekends, but I was like terrified. So I was like, and so what the great thing about Toastmasters again is that you get that is practice. It's practice in leadership and it's practice in public speaking. And you lose the adage is you lose what you don't use. And what I noticed is that when I stopped going to Toastmasters, that fear increased versus as when I was more active, I was able to consistently make those butterflies fly information. But kind of going back, let me go back a little bit. I just did a presentation for a high school, or excuse me, an academy, which has a high school and has all the different levels at this academy. So elementary, middle school, and high school is there. Small little high school group. But I just spoke there last week, a couple of days ago, and it was about leadership. And I had always been very outgoing. When I'm the oldest on my mother's side, and I felt as though a responsibility to be a leader because I'm the oldest, and I grew up with a lot of my cousins, and we grew up together very closely, like siblings. I just have a brother, but I have a lot of cousins. And even on my mother's side, my father's side, I was thought to be the oldest, but we just found out that I'm the second oldest. But I've always felt this responsibility to be a leader. And when I was in my elementary school, I was a leader there. When I was in my neighborhood, I was a leader there. And even in college, I was a leader there. And so what I noticed about that is I was very confident. What happened is that when I was in middle school, though, my grandma had passed away and had moved to another school. And so some of those challenges will affect your confidence. And I think I became very shy around that time. And what helped me out of that is Toastmasters, because like we said, Toastmasters, the disciplines, leadership, and also public speaking. And so getting that practice was helpful. And like I said, another important part, and I don't want to be redundant here, is that having morning rituals is very important. So what I do in my practice in the morning, try to do it at nighttime too, is that I will work out for about uh, a few minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but it's every single day. So if you calculate that over time, it comes out to be a lot of hours. And it's,
What are some of the things you do for practice?
I'm sorry?
What are some of the things you do for practice? Like you'll just kind of have a script that you're working through, or do you kind of just
Well, I was just making the point that I exercise. I have to do that, because that keeps me awake and that keeps me active, keeps me in shape. And
yeah.
what I do is I go and then I read and then I meditate. Meditation is very important. So because if you have a time, and I do that for 10 minutes, if you have time to kind of visualize your strategy, visualize what you want to do, that will help take away fear. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
If you look at the story of Jordan, he meditated. If you think about Tiger Woods, he meditated, thinking about every single hole he might have an opportunity to hit. And so the same thing with life. If you can kind of visualize your course, your action for the next move, it gives you more grace to be successful in that objective. And so meditation is important. It's important also right before you speak too,
Hmm.
to visualize how you will present your content. So I meditate for 10 minutes. And this is interesting too, because I read this book and I talk about this at the seminar. There's this book called 100 Ways to Meditate. There's so many different ways to sit down and have some special time to just think, to visualize, and to calculate what is your next move. That's what meditation means, actually. Meditation means to meet. In Latin, and its etymology, it means to meet. And meet means to measure. And you got to have time to measure your next move. So I meditate for 10 minutes and then I go through my affirmations. So that's very important to have affirmations. So I have host my affirmations like this, a stack of affirmations. But my first paper that I had says that some of the affirmations are that I'm smart, that I'm a public speaker, that I'm exciting, that I am confident. If you read those affirmations every morning, it starts to have a psychological effect upon who you are in the inside, in here and in here. So those are some ways that someone can improve and have that progression to gain more confidence. I also read, and I read about 5 books. Read a little bit out of each book, but I read about 5 books every morning. And then I spend time to write in my journal and to write and then also look at my goals. And that's one thing too. Looking at your goals is very important too. So let's say if I want to be a speaker or whatever industry accomplishment that you want to obtain, you got to be able to look at those goals.
Definitely. Yeah, those are an awesome way to like start the day. And I imagine it probably gives you like kind of some peace of mind too, just like doing all those things. Cause I know for myself, like I have my thoughts will wander if I don't meditate. If I don't have goals, my day will wander. So that's great. Yeah. Do you want to talk about, I think we wanted to cover maybe some of the classes that you also teach too, which would be awesome to hear some of those classes, and then like emotional intelligence. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, so I teach about 13 different courses. Many of them are 6-hour long presentations, day presentations, and at the end they get a certificate of completion, so continued education credit for participating in the course. And some of my favorite classes are HIPAA. I know that kind of sounds funny. HIPAA, I don't know if you heard of HIPAA, but HIPAA is the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act. And it basically is a class on privacy and security. It's your right to keep your information confidential as relates to your health insurance and health information. I like teaching that class because I think no one teaches it like I do. And I was just reading some evaluations that I had from some of my attendees and just reading some of their comments on how they liked the class. And so, yeah, it tends to be a very dry class because it's all about law. It's really a boring class. And I remember when I was doing insurance, when I first took the class, we hated it because you have to take it yearly. The idea is to take it yearly. And every time it came, it was so uncomfortable to take your HIPAA course and also take the test. But when you take my
Can I pause you really quick, Charles? I'm curious, how did you turn something that's so dry and make it entertaining? Because I think some of the people that are listening, they might be making their own videos and doing things like that, and they might be teaching videos on something that might not be that exciting. And so what did you do to make it more interesting for the audience?
Well, my whole motto when it comes to public speaking, or just in general, one of my sayings, and this is in my book, which we'll talk about later, is that to get it done, you have to make it fun. To get it done, you have to make it fun. So I try to make everything that I do fun and enjoyable. And so when I am presenting, I crack a lot of jokes. I try to crack a lot of jokes, and I like the audience to get involved too. I want them to crack jokes. I want it to be an experience. And when I first got into doing it at the professional level, that at least the mentors I had ahead of me, they said that you have to make the seminar an experience. It's not just you teaching, but they have to had gone away and felt something. They had to have come to the seminar and been stuck in some type of time warp or some type of place nowhere else, to where they're sucked into an enjoyment, a time fulfilling that is inspiring and also, like I said, fun. And so I try to make it that way every single time. But I do a lot of jokes. We play a lot of games, quizzes, and I try to make it very interactive. Because it's not just me speaking, but it's the group that's speaking. It's not a monologue, but it's a dialogue. If you look at the root, I think it's in the Greek or the Latin, it's a monologue. Mono means one person, and dialogue refers to conversation. It's a conversation back and forth. And so I like to teach in that format.
That's awesome. I think that's going to be some great advice for the audience to just know, just figure out ways to be creative, figure out ways to get spontaneous, connect with people. And I like that you use your humor, or that's probably that's a really good strength to bring to the table. One of
Too, if for your listeners, you're a little bit more serious now, but you're very funny too up there. So
I try to loosen up. I think sometimes it depends on time of day. We're recording here on a Sunday afternoon, so I'm like kind of in lounge mode, trying to keep the energy high and everything.
Yeah, but would you agree with that though, right? I mean, because you tend to be funny too when you're up there, right? Do you feel
I
like?
try to. There's only a couple ways to kind of get the audience. If you can see the people starting to drift off, and you're like, man, if I can tell a joke, or if I can do like a gesture, or even like what I just did, like a snap or like a clap, something that gets people like, whoa, that was different, and then they're able to like kind of engage again, which is in person. Maybe it would be interesting to hear about your take on in the digital space as well. So, in person, you have all these things that you can do, but now that a lot of people are moved online, are there some things that you try to do to keep people engaged digitally?
Yeah, I mean, I try to do the same thing. I mean, I just try to incorporate it. It's a little bit harder in the small little box to do it, but I try to do the same elements here when it comes to Zoom and some of the virtual methods of educating and training and speaking. But I wanted to kind of go back though to the whole fun part because it's weird. When I was first doing my presentation before, I was very serious actually. I was very serious, and I'm not a really serious person. Like, I'm really fun, and you always hear this idea that you have to be yourself in front of a group, right? When you are lecturing and you are being a great orator and you are active in elocution. You have to be yourself. But naturally, I think I'm funny, and I like to tease, and so why not do it in front of a group? It's going to be more genuine. But one of like I said, everything before then was very serious. Even the professional speaking was very serious, first few presentations. And one of my friends, I don't know if you know Joe Harper, but he's my mentor in Toastmasters. He's hilarious. He's basically a comedian. That's what he should be doing full time, I think. But he was telling me that his secret is that he makes it fun. And he told me, he says that I don't know if you noticed, but everyone that wins the international championship, they're all funny. Now they have an element of seriousness and they're able to have highs and lows, but for the most part, they all are funny. And so I never forgot that part. So that's been helping me. And to kind of balance it out too, I just thought about this is that it's not just to make them laugh. Now my goal is to make them cry too. Remember how I said the experience, right?
Yeah.
I think a good presentation, a good sermon or speech or seminar or a class being taught must have all the elements, so not just humor. Just like in a good movie, you have archetypes, you also have the element of drama, you have the scenery of action, you have all those sides of a movie to make it great, to win an Oscar, to make it win a great award. And so that's what I try to do. I try to make them laugh. I try to make them cry. I bring the action in, which with I bring props in. I get into character. I use a lot of gestures. I get in their faces. I do a lot of interactive things to make them not see the presentation one-sided, as in black and white. But there's a lot of color and there's a lot of different elements to make it well-rounded and to make it again
Yeah, like emotionally captivating. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, the way that you describe it, who wouldn't want to like attend one of those presentations where you're able to just get people? I mean, yeah, stories and all of that is ingrained in our culture. That's why people can sit for 3 hours and watch a movie because it has all those elements. I think that's great. So to get people to sit, how long are some of those presentations? A couple hours?
Yeah, like 6 hours. But what I was trying to say though, too, like I make them cry, right? So like the story I just told you about my uncle, and I told you about some of my professors. I would say every single week, especially if I'm teaching class on emotional intelligence or managing emotions under pressure, I will have people cry. I'll be talking in the middle of the conversation and the dialogue. You'll see a tear come up from somebody's eye, or somebody will just break into crying and then they'll leave and then they'll come back. Or after the seminar, they'll come to me and start telling me their story and then they'll cry.
Hmm.
You know, and it just really inspires me to get out there. Not only that, you know who else cries sometimes?
I'm I'm gonna say the guy that I'm sitting across from here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I cry too, because to touch someone's heart and talk about something that's very intimate and something that really pulls on their heartstrings, really inspires me to be a speaker and to keep doing what I'm doing.
That's
But
pretty. That's wait. If you don't mind me interrupting, like that's very powerful stuff, and um, I think that's a whole other level of speaking that I'm yet to even try to get into because I think it takes a level of being comfortable with being vulnerable in front of the audience, being able to emotionally connect in that way. So that's very cool. Like that you've made like been able to I don't know, transcend into that level where you're able to connect with people and emotionally, which is hard to do if you kind of have if you put up an emotional shield around you all the time. So yeah, I'm again always impressed. Always, you're doing cool stuff, Charles.
thank you so much, man. Thank you for this platform. But to answer your question, so I like HIPAA to teach that class, like managing emotions under pressure and emotional intelligence, because of all those things I just said, as far as being able to help someone really change. And not only that, but every time I present, it reminds me of what I need to do, because like I said before, you forget what you don't use, you lose what you don't use. And so by actively teaching, it reminds me of what I need to do. It reminds me to stay firm on my goals. It reminds me to prove the haters wrong. Right.
Yeah, which I wanted to ask you about because you had so many, and these people clearly, like I think of a couple in my mind, but no, I don't. Yeah, having people like laugh in your face or say that you can't do something often, I think for younger people, dissuades us from even pursuing our dreams. If one person tells us no, then we're like, oh, maybe they're right, and that can change your entire trajectory of your life. So you were able to push through that, which I'm so glad you have, because if you didn't, we wouldn't have you as a great speaker that we get to listen to through different platforms like YouTube or some of these live presentations. I've yet to go to one of your live presentations other than Toastmasters, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So at least in the class, kind of touching on both those questions, last one of the reasons why I like teaching emotional intelligence and also getting through those haters is that we talk about grit. Grit is a book. I encourage you to look that one up. It's a great read. But grit is the ability to have this robust, this strong desire to prove people wrong. It's also to be persevering, to be persistent, no matter what people say, no matter what obstacles. It's all about having a big heart, no matter what comes your way. And so typically in my class, I love history. So we talk about that and how great people have been able to endure much, been able to deal with haters. And not even that, to make this more relevant, no matter which political side that you like, Trump or Biden, both of them have haters, and both of them are getting ridiculed. So in order, one of the ingredients in order to be great and to be extraordinary, you have to be able to get, that's like a prerequisite. You have to be able to get over this negative, contrarian, offsetting opinions of the haters. It's just a part of the game. And
Do you want to talk? So what I think of when it comes to haters, they're so much closer to home. Whereas it before, like if someone didn't like you, maybe they would just kind of think it. But now with social media, we can hear everybody's thoughts essentially. So if you put something up there, their thoughts, they get to put it right there. And then you look down at your phone and it's right there in your face and you have to with it. Whereas maybe if someone said something, that disappears or whatnot. But yeah, it's, have you had to deal with that digitally? Some of the like social media haters or anything?
Well, I don't really get to be honest with you, I don't get a lot of haters online like that. I think I do have a lot of haters. Don't get me wrong, I got a lot of haters, but it's not as direct as in a comment. It might be even if I have haters, it may be like they don't give me likes or something like that. Like I'll look at like my story and I can see that a whole bunch of people saw my stuff, like hundreds of people saw my stuff, and they're not give me any likes. So that would be more like hating to me, but I don't get any like direct comments that say they don't like my stuff. It's more of a non-participation, if anything, on social media. But the haters I do have, I sometimes see them in my face, and they are people who, even at the seminars, this is where, like, even though I'm saying a lot of good stuff, let's say out of hundreds of people that I speak to, there's always going to be that one person that don't like my personality, don't like the way that I present. And then they do write comments on how they didn't like things. And so those are just opportunities to grow because there's some bit of truth to what they're saying. And so to be able to take that negative aspect of how they see you and turn around to make it positive is all about emotional intelligence and helps you to grow as a person. So that's kind of how I would answer that.
Yeah. Wow. So, okay. So people actually write it like in the feedback and everything. For
Yeah.
a lot of people that have never experienced that, do you have any?
Let me go back. I will get hundreds of people, like the best comments you will ever have on my evaluations. And it will always be, it's just like one person.
Yeah. I think psychologically, the one that stands out carries so much like more weight than the 100. Like you always just reflect or think about that one. Whereas like there was all these other good ones, but, it's just wild. What would you say to somebody that's never experienced that? So maybe this is somebody that is doing their first public speaking opportunity. Maybe they put up their first piece of content online and someone didn't like it or something. How would you tell them to come to grips with that? What happened? What someone's saying to them. How do they get over that? Or how do you move forward? Or how do you put up the armor that things like that aren't gonna affect you emotionally or whatnot?
Yeah, I think it's repetition. Like I said, I want to be repetition on this either practice. I when I was in school, when I was in college, we used to go from state to state. The Bible college I was referring to before, we used to go state to state, and we used to sell books. And before then, like I said, I was shy, and I was scary and timid. But we used to go door to door, and you would get all kinds of characters of people. You have the door slamming in your face. You have people cursing you out. I had two occasions where people got physical with me. I remember I was speaking to a guy, and I think this is like my first door. I was knocking on the doorpost because the door was open. This was during the summer, right? Very hot. I was knocking on the doorpost because the door was wide open and no one came. I was like, hello, hello. And then I go to the next part where there's like a portion between the screen door and the door. There's maybe 3 or 4 foot between the door and the actual screen door. So go to that part and I knock on the base. I said, hello, hello, hello. No one comes. So then I go to the part where the actual door is going into the house. I peek my head around the circle around the door, and this big 6 foot guy, football player looking guy, runs towards me. He has a crutch on, and he's cursing at me, and he pushes me out. He pushes me out and said, how can you come into my house? Blah blah blah. And so you develop thick skin when it comes to situations like that. Let me tell one more other story. I remember I was speaking to this one guy. He was kind of thick, and he was working on his Mustang, like a 1960 something Mustang, under his car. And I was really persistent about selling this book to him. He was like, "No, I'm not interested." And I kept going on about, "Hey, I want you to get this book." And he says, "No, I'm not interested." And I do it one more time, and then he gets from under his car, comes towards me and grabs my neck and glide me off of his lawn. It says to me, "Never come back here again." And so from those experiences, if people are slamming the door on your face and they're yelling at you, you develop thick skin, and knowing that, you develop grit. And when you are presenting, like on Toastmasters, you're always getting evaluations. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so those experiences, so for those, to answer your question, I think having a lot of experiences where people are being negative to you, you develop a thick skin. I was also in the military where you have people yelling in your face, especially in basic training, where they're really overtly rude. Over time, you become stronger. So again, another advice is not to take things to heart, but to take things to mind. So the criticism that you receive, don't take it personal. Take it as a logical process to change and to improve. Maybe you may not need to improve, but it's a chance to, from an intellectual standpoint, evaluate the situation and see if there's opportunity for growth where someone has made a comment about you. So don't take it to heart, but take it to mind.
I like it. That's awesome. I'm sorry that you've had to like endure and experience those things, but then it's like without that, you wouldn't be able to like develop the thick skin. So it's like, it's like one of those things, I guess. No, you said it perfectly. So I'm going to leave it at that. The next thing I wanted to ask you, Charles, was,
Well, let me say this. Nothing. So about thick skin is that I'm at a point where nothing affects me. Nothing can hurt my feelings. Nothing someone can say can really break my heart. As in, the sticks and stones. The adage about sticks and stones. Nothing really hurts me. But it wasn't always so. Before, when I was very timid, if someone just said something to me, or they looked at me in the wrong way, it would affect my whole day to where I would be depressed. I would have a bad day, number one, and then I would have a bad week still thinking about that criticism or thinking about that negative experience. Then I would have a terrible month, and then it would go on to full depression. So this is something that I didn't share before, and one of the reasons why I like at least teaching the emotional intelligence class is because I used to deal with extreme depression. Extreme depression. My dad had dealt with extreme depression. He still deals with it. My mother, she's not here anymore. She had dealt with extreme depression. And not to tell you too much, but that's why she's not here, actually, due to depression. And so I have a family history of depression, but I used to deal with it a great deal before. But because of emotional intelligence, I've been able to grow, and I've not had it for maybe 2 decades now. And so really feel as though it is my burden, or again, calling, to help people who have trouble managing their self-esteem and their self-concept. But yeah, I've not always been that way. I used to take things very personal, but now I have thick skin.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear about your mother and the many loved ones, and yeah. But what's up? Yeah, but I was gonna say, yeah, I think this is gonna really resonate with a lot of people because mental health and a lot of these things aren't talked about. They now are, just within maybe from what I've noticed the last like 5 years, but this is something that a lot of people deal with, and I think is not talked about, and that just continues to make the problems bigger because you can't keep stuffing things down and bottling them up and hoping they'll go away because it just festers and grows. And yeah, that's awesome that you've been able to kind of have 2 decades of putting a lot of that aside. I've dealt with a little bit, in the last couple of years, and it's challenging. It's crazy what you can really beat yourself up about, or let other people beat you up with their words or things, and really taking it to heart and allowing it to affect you, like you mentioned, not just for one day, but for a week, even longer. So, yeah. Charles, you mind if we switch to maybe a happier topic of,
I want to make you happy. But what's interesting about remember I said that I touch people, make them cry. Typically, when I start talking about this side of depression, it really starts to resonate with people because a lot of people are actually dealing with depression, especially right now with the pandemic and the fact that people are out of work. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are actually, like the older folks, have really been affected when it comes to their health. A lot of people have passed away during this pandemic. It's just something to think about. These are depressing times.
yes, yeah, exactly. I know. And this is something that no one has really experienced before. And so there aren't as many tools and resources for people to adjust to it. But we're all learning and trying to grow and figure this thing out. Yeah. Well, Charles, what is your favorite part about presenting? What's your favorite part about being a public speaker?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit. Like I said, making people laugh and the highs and the lows and being able to change people's lives. I think those are some of the things that I love about public speaking. And yeah.
Yeah. Being able to connect with people. Oh, I guess my remote just died here. But Charles, you have a new book coming out. Do you touch upon some of these topics in your book?
Yeah, so I have a book called Quotations. And so, like I said before, I have the morning ritual. So to kind of get over depression, you have to have some quiet place to basically assess or to evaluate what the outward stimuli is and find ways to overcome them. And I talked about the affirmation aspect and also the fact of reading. And so Quotations is a book that you can read in your morning time seasons, or you may not have the morning for your secret place. It might be at nighttime, so you might be a night owl, which is fine too. But this book is designed to inspire you and encourage you. So by each topic, you can look it up and be encouraged. So let's say there's a section on confidence. So you look up confidence, and we read all the quotes from all the great thinkers, from all the extraordinary folks, you become more confident. But it's by subject matter. You can look up each quotation and find some type of inspiration. So that's the book that just came out. You can look up that on Amazon. So Charles Shambry Quotations, that's what you can look up. You can get it on paperback as well as Kindle. I'll have other platforms to which you can get it later. I also have a book on clothing. It's called Quantity versus Quality, and it's for men. Gives you more of a chance to purchase more items for a low rate to save money when it comes to formal wear in the business setting. So I'm just about done with that one. I'm just working on the illustrations and the pictures and graphics I want to have in it, but all the chapters are basically done. And then I have another book that is kind of in the middle, and it's basically covering everything that we talked about today. The stories about my process of public speaking and also being able to teach and present. And it also goes into cover emotional intelligence at the end. It's called Self-Fulfilling Prophecy, Increasing Your Emotional Intelligence. And so, yeah, it's I think it's going to be a good one. But
That's awesome. Yeah, those three books seem like they would be extremely helpful for anyone trying to, learn, grow, become a better person, being the best person that they can be. I've never written a book before. Maybe you want to talk about, like, what's that process like? Is it fun? Do you like writing books, or is it what? Not fun?
No, the process of writing is fun because I write a little bit every morning, and that part is fun. The part that at least because the first one that came out was really difficult because of maybe just the process of launching it and making sure that everything is perfect when it comes to just nitpicky things. That can be difficult, and also purchasing a team to help you put it out. That's a little bit difficult, but it's my first time, and so practice makes for perfection. So I think this next book will be a little easier, and it will be easier as I go along. Because my goal is to write a lot of books. One of the main speakers that helped me, I met Jeremy Anderson. I don't know if I told you this. Jeremy Anderson.
No.
Jeremy Anderson is, if you look him up on YouTube, he's well known. And I met him at a presentation that he was at, and he gave me some insights, some free help. It was like my first year of speaking, and he presents with ET. So Eric Thomas, you might know Eric Thomas. Most people know Eric Thomas.
Yeah, big name.
Him on occasion, and I know people that know Eric Thomas as well. And so that's my hope, to meet him too, because he's inspiring. But Jeremy Anderson told me that if you have more books, that gives you more opportunities to speak. And I think he wrote 8 books. And if you have, and this is free for the people. If you have one book, because public speaking is very competitive. I don't know if you know, it's very competitive.
Very competitive, yeah.
They're trying to pick between, let's say there's a function and they're trying to pick between you and another speaker, and you have one book, and the other guy has 2 books, they're probably going to pick the person that has 2 books. If you have no books and the person has 8 books, they're probably going to pick the person that has 8 books. So I have a goal to write, because that's true, I have a goal to write a lot of books. Not just for that though, but I think from an intellectual standpoint is that you gain more credibility by writing books. People don't think you're serious unless you have books and it's written down, your thoughts. But writing has a interesting thing to last for a long time, if not forever.
Yeah.
What you write down will last forever. And this can be kind of a good thing and a bad thing. For example, I wrote some articles a while back that I don't know if I probably should have wrote those articles because it probably hurt me to get some speaking engagements, but I was just like trying to get in. And so writing a couple of articles was a way to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And so in writing the books, I've been a little bit more careful in what I put down. I've been a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more deliberate. But what you write tends to last forever, and I want to build a legacy. So after I'm not here anymore, people can look back at my books and they can see what I've done to contribute to the humanities. But another thing too is that what your words do in writing can travel far. So for example, if I write a book they may not be able to speak to me in person. They may not be able to see these recordings. They may not have the technology to recover these interviews. But if a book goes to some, let's say, third world country or some impoverished state or place, if a book gets there and they can read English, or if the book is translated in their tongue, hey, I've been able to touch someone afar off. So writing has the ability to touch people in different ways technology cannot. And books last forever, as I said before. So just something to think about when it comes to legacy. So that's what I like about writing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's awesome, and I think that's very helpful for other people that want to write. It sounds like it's a good, marketing tool as a speaker. But you don't only do writing. This is the VidMark podcast. We talk a little bit more leaning towards video and stuff. So do you want to talk about the other mediums that you use, which is the written word, but you also do audio, interview, and then you do video as well. Do you want to talk about some of those other platforms that you're on? Do you prefer video and audio over writing, or do you like just both?
Yeah. No, good point. So one of the things that helped me in public speaking was to start a YouTube channel, and that got me into doing TV. I was doing a couple of videos, and I had come from maybe a difficult time, and this was a good way to maybe express myself. And not only that, but remember the time I told you I had this flash and vision of speaking places and doing all these other things. My dream was to have a TV show when I grew up. I wanted to be on TV. And when I had these videos, Phyllis saw the videos, and Phyllis was on a program in Salem, cable TV, and she asked me to come on. And then she went to TV. She joined TV Toastmaster. And before then, I had saw TV Toastmasters. I want to join that group. I don't know how I can join, but I want to join at some point. And I had also discussed the morning ritual, and I had a picture of my goal of being on TV Toastmasters, being on TV. And it actually came true. I became a host on TV Toastmasters, and then I became the president of TV Toastmasters.
That's awesome. So you met your goal of being on TV and exceeded it. Went over to the next level.
Yeah. So all that stuff I'm able to do, but the content that I put on YouTube goes to TV, and it serves about 500,000 plus people. There's about 4 studios to which I was in charge of, related to the clubs under Toastmasters, and I still have those relationships active. And so the content I have goes on TV, and some content also goes on radio. So I have my show, Interviews with Charles Shambry, Prince Charles, goes on the radio. So KBOO, I have a relationship with them to where it goes on the evening news. So part is cut for the evening news for their programming. Then I use another portion to go on my YouTube channel. And then also it's another version is cut to go on TV. So that it's multiple platforms. I also present it on Facebook and also Instagram as a way to get my name out there. So that's why I have this here, Charles Shambry. And what's interesting about this too, I'm glad we're on TV because I can share this, because a lot of times people are like, hey, he's so caught up into himself and all this other stuff. Hey, I gotta get my name out there. So how it's supposed to happen. So
yeah, they got to hear your name 7 times before they decide to do business with you, right?
For sure. If you think about Eric Thomas and all these other folks, they had to do something like that at the beginning in order to be known. And so I'm just starting to get known, and so you have to start branding. And you helped me with that. You helped me with this actual logo. For those that don't know, you did this logo for me because I needed a logo.
Yep.
And so good thing about this COVID is that I've been able to spend more time on kind of maybe positioning my brand and making it more so known, and focusing on the message. Because I think before, I think the message was more about me. It's not about me. It's about the value that I can bring, because I teach all these classes, and there's a lot that I do learn. There's a lot I have studied on. I'm actually helping people. And this is where too, because most of the contracts, and I'm glad I'm on this, because all the contracts that I have, not most of the contracts, all the contracts I have, they never show me speaking, because I signed a contract that I cannot have anything recorded or videotaped.
Hmm.
So people are missing me speaking from these contracts. But as I do my own stuff outside my contracts, my own presentations outside of my contract deals, I'm able to record. So I have a few of them, but most of the time I'm speaking, I'm in a situation where I'm not able to show my expertise to the world. But
Yeah,
yes.
like when you're talking about HIPAA and some of those privacy things and healthcare. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for example, I showed something on Facebook where it showed like I had like 100 people at the seminar. I had a lot of fun. But I showed the recording of empty seats. This is after the seminar or before the seminar, because I could lose my contract if I record it during the seminar. So, but we'll get it all worked out. That's the next few things I'll be focusing on is to get more gigs that are outside my contracts to where you can actually see people there, which adds to credibility. But yeah, with everything going on, I've been focusing on my brand and get my name out there. And so my whole motto too is to provide value to content and relationships. So again, to add value to content. So on social media, TV and radio, to add valuable content, and also to add value to the relationships that I have. And so hopefully you, Brian, being my friend, hopefully I've added value to you as a comrade, as an amigo, as a buddy and pal.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I've appreciated our friendship over the years. Yeah, this big time value. I imagine a lot of the audience is listening and not only walking away inspired, but informed. And yeah, you're just helping people get to a better place. And I'm excited that you kind of talked about what are some of the future happenings. If you had to give like one piece of advice for someone that, maybe they just graduated from high school, maybe they're just getting into the public speaking arena, what is one thing that public speakers could start doing today to start elevating their public speaking game?
Yeah, I think I said before, practice makes for perfection. Practice, 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 and having that morning ritual. So the morning ritual is practice for everything. So your ability to practice confidence, practice your strategy, your next move for each day, the next few hours, and also practice your public speaking ability. But again, I think it's just having a morning ritual where you're able to practice what your next move is going to be in all facets of your life. So have a morning ritual. If not, have a night owl session.
That's awesome. Yeah, and gain those consistent results over the long term. Charles, how can people follow you? How can people support you? How can people connect to learn more?
Great, yeah. So you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube. Just look up my name, Charles Shambry. Follow that logo, and you should see my content.
That's awesome. Yeah, and we'll have all of those links in the show description. You guys can feel free to click around and connect with Charles. I'm excited for the many books that are coming out soon. And yeah, any fun plans for the rest of the day?
Oh, one other thing too, yeah. So don't forget. So I'm doing a lot of coaching sessions now too. So that's something to look at. So if you see anything on social media, as far as Instagram and Facebook, I'm doing a lot of free coaching sessions. So that's how I'm trying to provide value. So just if you're interested, please connect with me. Send me a direct message, and I'll be able to help you and also help myself as I wish to help improve others along the way. Because, like I said, when I'm helping others, it reminds me of what I need to do. So coaching people helps me too.
Yeah. And who doesn't need to coach? Everyone that's ever done anything that we've know of has been through the help of a coach, a teacher, a mentor. So that's awesome that you're providing that for people. Thank you, Charles. This has been awesome having you on the show. Enjoy the rest of your day. Any last things you want to say to the audience before wrapping up?
No, have an awesome, Brian, day.
Thanks for tuning in to VidMark, a place for all your video marketing needs. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform and tune in every Thursday morning on either iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more. For a behind-the-scenes look and some bonus tips, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until next time, good luck with your video marketing efforts, and remember, always hit the mark.